Well, yeah, Gary Hahn is the homeowner. He owns this barn behind me, which has been crushed by several trees, which fell onto the barn. He says that he watched as a funnel cloud approached his house and continued watching as the strong winds snapped those trees, causing all that barn damage. The homeowner also says that those trees are popple trees and are at least a few feet thick, and that they broke off from those strong winds, crushing the top and front of his barn. Amazingly, his house is perfectly fine. All of the falling trees avoided hitting his home. Gary Hahn says he heard the wind blowing hard but didn't hear the strong roar that's commonly associated with tornadoes. He says he watched as the funnel cloud came over Little Long Lake and kept watching as it went into his backyard.
A dark cloud kind of came over the lake, and a portion of it kind of went down toward the lake. You can see by the stump up there. Yeah, I heard them crack and pop and hit the ground, hit the barn.
Now, despite the visible damage to his barn, Gary says he does have insurance, so he's not too worried about having it taken care of. Also, he says that the power to his house was knocked out, but he does have a generator. Also, at this time, it's not known if it was a tornado or just some very strong winds that caused the damage to this barn. That's right. We're actually on Springbrook Road right now, and behind me is where the road is blocked off, and you can see why. There is a tree that fell and is covering the entire road, and that tree did not just fall down. I don't know if you can see over to the right though, it got uprooted, just a sign of how strong and powerful the winds were. This is a similar scene across other areas too, strong winds knocking down limbs and trees, and also lightning causing some problems too. In Walker, a home on Riverbend caught fire from a lightning strike. The people were not at home at the time, but fortunately, the next door neighbor was. The neighbor tells us that the lightning struck a tree in front of the home and that it also blew out the gas line to the house, and that caused the gas line to shoot fire up the side of the home. Now, the man rushed over and used a garden hose to contain the fire until the Walker Fire Department showed up. There is only minimal damage to the side of the house from where the flames from the gas line burned, but it could have been much worse.
There was just two strips about 1.5 inches wide where the bark peeled probably from 20 feet down to the ground, just peeled and laying on the ground. There was pieces of bark all over the place. You could feel it in your chest. That's how intense it was.
Now, when we left that home earlier this evening, DTE was on the scene trying to take care of the problem, making sure that everything is okay. You can imagine anytime that there's a fire with a gas line, they want to make sure they take care of the problem.
10th annual Blackout game at Northview High School is just around the corner.
Our Michael Dupre joining us now with a family that knows firsthand what fighting cancer is like. Michael.
Yeah, Derek and Janice, that's right. It's a football game that's big for the whole community in Grand Rapids, but for one senior on the team, it has extra special meaning.
It's about something bigger than football.
On September 21st, the Wildcats football stadium at Northview High School will be a sea of supporters all dressed in black.
We certainly are going to raise money for the event, but more than anything, it's about awareness and educating and getting our kids involved in something bigger than themselves.
Blackout shirts like these cost $10, and the money goes to PORT, which is the Pediatric Oncology Resource Team for Helen DeVos Children's Hospital, a place Skylar Kleibush knows all too well after he was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma when he was 14.
When I first was diagnosed, I really didn't know what to expect. I was just a teenager. Then they walked in and told me, and it kind of left me in shock.
Skylar and his family found out just how much PORT can help provide comfort.
They came in, volunteers came in, and they brought me this big bag of stuff, and it kind of made me feel a lot better.
They're right there by the bedside with, blankets, any kind of items that you might need.
His treatment was tough.
I was in and out of surgery all the time.
But after a 2.5-year battle, he's in the clear.
It was just a really long, rough journey.
This will be his 4th Blackout game, and he says they all have a special place in his heart.
I always try to do as much as I can for the Blackout, and I also volunteer at the hospital. I'm giving back as much as I can to the community and just to anybody who has cancer.
Skylar's coach says the courage he shows on the field inspires the whole team.
And then you have Skylar battling his whole darn life and continuing to lead by a positive example. It's quite an inspiration. It makes me proud to be a part of his life and watch the young man that he's grown up to be.
Again, the game is next Friday, the 21st, with a ceremony at 6:30 to honor those who fought cancer, followed by the kickoff starting at 7 o'clock. For more information or to buy one of those shirts, just head over to fox17online.com. Skylar's story is just very inspirational. I love how he's grateful for everything that he has now, but he's also trying to help those going through what he went through.
Finds itself in quite a unique position.
Our Michael Dupre is here in studio now with more on the confusion. Michael?
Well, we're talking about Woodward Street, and in the span of less than half a mile, there are 3 different legislative districts. A homeowner that I talked with says living in this convergence is strange, while the group Voters Not Politicians says it points to gerrymandering.
It's complicated, and we wish it was less complicated.
Claire Clary has lived on Woodward Lane in Grand Rapids for 18 years and resides in the 76th district when it comes to the state legislature. But her neighbors on the same street are in districts 75 and 73.
Sometimes people come by our house and they're running for office and they think they're in our district, and then they're not because they're one street over.
Finding the right place to vote can also be a burden.
We have had some trouble finding our polling place too. It seems to move around a lot.
The group Voters Not Politicians says it's an example of gerrymandering, meaning politicians manipulating districts to maintain power.
And right now, politicians lock themselves behind closed doors and carve up our communities to try and get elected for themselves.
To get their point across, Katie Fahey with the organization made a video to show just how close the districts are.
Yeah, so I started down in one district and then ran down, and yeah, it took me 46 seconds. And I think that was, I'm not a fast runner.
She says the complicated districts makes it harder for people to petition their representatives.
And if this street in particular, had a problem, they would be trying to get 3 different people's attention.
Something Claire and her neighbor agree with.
Do you know who the rep is? Come on, Reed. Okay, there you are. There you are. 2 people on the street, college graduates, did not know exactly who's running. This little corner, it's gotten very complicated.
Well, redistricting is done once every 10 years, and 2020, well, that's the next round. However, how that's done could change this November when the issue of drawing political lines goes to the voters to decide. If passed, a 13-member bipartisan commission would draw the districts.
Dead after being shot with a BB gun.
And now family members simply want to know why. Michael Dupre joining us with more on this story tonight. Michael?
Yeah, Derek and Janice, a very sad story. Tiger the cat was 30 years old. His elderly owner, well, was just too upset to go on camera, but we did speak with a neighbor who grew up with the cat and can't understand why anyone would be so cruel.
It's just really a travesty. We don't know why. Why would you shoot a cat? We just don't get it.
The cat, named Tiger, was 30 years old and well known in his East Grand Rapids neighborhood.
Nobody knows of a 30-year-old cat, really, and we've known him, since we were in high school. Tiger is kind of a legend.
Tori Duca is good friends with Tiger's owner and says over the Labor Day weekend, she got a call from the owner who was in tears.
And she said, you've got to help me. Something's the matter with Tiger. He's bleeding. We don't know what's the matter.
They rushed him to a vet where they learned some disturbing news.
When the vet came in and told us that the cat had been shot, we were just, our mouths strapped open. We were in disbelief. We just can't believe somebody would do something like this.
She says the vet explained they couldn't remove the metal BB which was lodged in his hind leg, and that with Tiger's advanced age, he wouldn't be able to walk again. So the owner made the difficult choice to euthanize her longtime companion.
It's just absolutely horrendous that somebody would ever do this to an animal. I think it's been heartbreaking to her. I mean, she lost her best friend.
News of Tiger's death quickly spread through the community, with Mayor Amna Sebold posting about it on her Facebook page, warning about the dangers of BB guns, a concern echoed by Tori on her social media account.
Right, I'm hoping it's not somebody's new hobby. That would just be awful. Trying to bring awareness to this because it really is a horrible crime, and I'm hoping it doesn't happen to anybody else.
Now, we spoke with the East Grand Rapids Police Department, who said that they're aware of the incident and say that shooting an animal can result in animal cruelty charges as well as weapons charges.
Catch of the day this weekend.
Yeah, our Michael Dupre spoke with him about the catch that is quite the whopper, Michael.
Yeah, it's an incredible catch. A salmon so big, the angler who caught it says it's tied for the 2nd biggest king salmon of the year in the state of Michigan.
It's a monster!
Dude, that's a monster! Woohoo!
A monster-sized fish caught by this master angler, Brooks Wheeler.
I've caught tons of salmon, so it's pretty much the same thing. I knew it was a big fish, so drag down and hope it didn't break. Boom, baby, fish on.
Brooks says he caught the king salmon over the weekend right next to the Grand Haven Lighthouse Pier.
That's the bait right there. J-plug was out down 20 feet in the channel, and the pole's on a downrigger, so you're not holding on to it. And all of a sudden, boom, 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 it goes and pulls off the downrigger and fights on. At
41.5 inches long and weighing 32 pounds, Brooks says his catch is tied for the second biggest king salmon of 2018. This is the fish that Brooks Wheeler caught. It's not as big as it was. He took the meat out of it because, well, he wants to eat it, and he kept the skin because he wants to put it on the wall. A fish so big, Brooks says, it reminded him of Jaws.
When it came up, and you can see that tail on the top, it looked like a shark. It was going like that next to the pier.
So large, his fishing net could barely handle it.
I couldn't believe the net didn't break because my net, if you look at it, it's duct taped together at the top there.
Well, luckily the duct tape held, and the all-time state record, in case you're wondering, for king salmon was set back in 1978. It weighed 42.5 pounds and was 46 inches long. Of course, there could always be bigger salmon out there, and this weekend anglers from all over will be at the annual Salmon Fest in Grand Haven, hoping to land a whopper catch for themselves.
Brooks, a full-time fisherman, I guess, or how about that?
I think he's been doing it since he's been able to crawl. That's the kind of guy he really is.
Oh my God, I don't know what's better, seeing that fish or hearing him describe the story of how he caught it.
Either one's a great treat, and he's going to have a lot of salmon to smoke. That was a lot of food.
A lot of meals.
Sure.
Several large cranes towering over the city skyline. Fox 17's Michael Dupre went to find out just what kind of work is being done and when it will all be finished. Michael.
Well, Janice, the sight of so many giant cranes means that work is underway to make downtown bigger and better. Construction on several projects are underway, with more on the horizon. Tower cranes can be seen all around downtown Grand Rapids.
You're seeing a lot of cranes in the sky because there's a lot going on.
The machines are doing the heavy lifting on multiple construction projects.
So we're in, one of the largest construction booms in downtown Grand Rapids history. We're close to $750 million of development, either under construction or planned to happen in the near future.
Construction on the Warner Office Tower is well underway on Ottawa Avenue. Going up right next to it will be a Hyatt Place hotel with 160 rooms.
Right now we're finishing up our last vertical columns. In about a week or so we'll be putting the roof level on. Now they're setting the 12th floor of the exterior curtain wall on the building right now, so they're setting their panes of glass that just continue around the exterior of the building.
Looking down from the top of the crane, you get a bird's eye view of the city.
The most critical component that we have on the job is the use of the tower crane. It prohibits us from going vertical if that thing's not functioning.
Both of these projects should be finished around summer 2019. Meanwhile, right next to the Van Andel Arena is the Studio Park project, which has been talked about now for years.
Studio Park is going to be a very easy place for people who are coming in from the outskirts of the city to find easy parking and also navigate everything that's right around here.
It will have a movie theater, a piazza, hotel and apartments, along with a parking ramp.
This is going to be an incredible place for people to find a landing spot in the city. This is right in the heart of the city.
The planning director for Grand Rapids says between 2007 and 2013, the city had about $50 million in construction.
Today we have over $150 million a year happening. We've had 21 projects over $10 million happening in the past couple years.
Bridge Street Market just opened up, and soon above it will be more than 100 apartments.
Right on top of that will be a 4-story apartments. And with that, it's named the Henrik, which we're pretty excited about, and into that we'll be opening those in November.
And the famous Amway Grand Plaza will soon get a $40 million facelift.
The Amway Grand Plaza, we're putting new glass on the entire facade of that.
The sight of cranes, a good thing for the city. The construction, a sign of things to come.
It's safe to say that investors see our core city as a safe place to invest.
The entire state of Michigan, Grand Rapids is really leading the way for investment.
The Amway facelift project will start in January and should be done by fall 2019. Also on the way, a $42 million Embassy Suites hotel. Downtown Grand Rapids Inc. says that the riverfront is also going to be developed by investors, and that 201 Market could be the next place for construction. So, Janice, so much going on downtown. It just makes you excited to see all those cranes building
a bigger and better Grand Rapids.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of all those projects. And boy, I just noticed the cranes on my way in today on the S-curve. You can really see them
there's like 5
standing
or 6
out there.
big, tall ones.
Yeah, and very tall. Speaking of that, just watching some of that video was kind of scary. How did you guys get those bird's eye view?
Well, looking at that video actually makes my stomach flip now.
Yeah.
That tower crane is 230 feet in the air.
Wow.
And we were able to stick a GoPro, a good old GoPro, right on one of the ball of the crane that goes up and down, and that's how we got those fantastic shots.
Wow, so high up. Fox 17's Michael Dupre has more now on what was decided. Michael.
Well, yeah, Janice, Derek, it's a story that we've been following for more than a month now. Some complaints were made to the township about 2 ducks, Nibbles and Bill, some people calling them a nuisance. Well, this led to a packed town hall meeting last month, and tonight's meeting, well, it came down to a few details, mostly about how and where those ducks will be kept. And in the end, it was some welcome news to Dylan.
Did we win?
We won, buddy. Your ducks stayed, my friend.
It's official, Dylan. You get to keep them.
That's the phone call that the Dykes made to their son this evening, and after variance request, 1804 was approved by the zoning board. Since the last meeting, board members say that they've been going over lots of ideas and proposals, also saying that there were some concerns about the containment of the ducks, along with noise and odors that may be coming from them. Tonight, the board decided that the ducks must be kept in a completely enclosed and covered coop that will be in the backyard and also 10 feet away from any neighboring property lines. Also, the coop cannot be bigger than 80 square feet, and the ducks cannot roam free in the yard unless Dylan is with them. His parents overjoyed that Dylan can keep his ducks and also relieved that their long fight is finally over.
As they voted, as I read off the requirements, I was very happy with what I heard and relieved that now that it's over.
This has been an exhausting process. I mean, we've been dealing with this since May, and Dylan's really felt the pressure and the exhaustion pieces from all of this, and we're ready to just be able to move on with our life. Dylan just wants his normal back. He just wants his ducks. Are you happy?
I'm so happy. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, buddy. You're worth all of it.
So Dylan just overcome with excitement, very happy that it's official. He gets to keep his 2 best friends, those 2 ducks, Nibbles and Bill. He does say he's not really sure what he's going to name the new coop for Nibbles and Bill. Meanwhile, his dad tells me that he hasn't heard anything from the neighbors who made those original complaints.